So the big question is this: how these entrepreneurs who started from scratch and had no idea how to sell or market their products or services online and then later on made over 6 figures, 7 figures or even 8 figures became best in their niches and found their dream customers to sell. My name is RJ Ahmed and find this all out in our Interviews with Entrepreneurs show. I interviewed these entrepreneurs and tried to pick their brain of how they actually did that and how they took their business as well as their life to the next level. This podcast is all about the entrepreneurs who strive so hard to become super awesome in their niches. Welcome to Interviews with Entrepreneurs. Welcome to Interviews with Entrepreneurs show where we interview entrepreneurs who are super awesome in their niches. RJ here back with another awesome guest. And like if you've been into this particular space out there, you saw like many people out there do unique thing in their sense, which is crazy. But I saw this guy out there made a show, not this show, a literal show out there, which was like freaking crazy. And I'm like, how can go in someone manage to create a show out there that is legit a game show and manage all of the hassles out there and make it work, you know? And absolutely, if you are the part of this space and if you've like little bit of idea of this particular show, you gotta go and you gotta know about that person out there. The show is the X and O's, and we finally got like Jim Beard out there.
What's up, RJ? What's going on, man?
Absolutely awesome. What about you, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. And I love having you on X's and O's as well, man. You're always a great guest.
Truly appreciate it, man. It is truly great to have you on the show, and I absolutely loved X and O's, and I would definitely gonna be on there again. So the people who are jumping on live, just use hashtag live. The people who use jumping on replay, just use hashtag replay out there. And yeah, again, Jim, thank you so much for hopping on. If people don't know about your backstory, how you got started, can you tell us a little bit about your backstory, how you got started?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I come from 14, I think it was almost 15 years of automotive advertising. So I worked with car companies like Tesla, GM. I was on site at Mercedes headquarters in Montvale, New Jersey, before they moved to Georgia for 2.5 years in Jersey, I mean. and I did CGI, computer graphics, to where you make the cars in the computer and it's supposed to look real enough to where you don't know the difference. And that was my job for all that time. And it just, the challenge wasn't there. And I got to feeling like I was just a piece of a larger machine, and the appreciation wasn't there. I didn't get to experience the end result. And that's great. I'm working on it. I'm coming back. I'm coming back. It's going to be there soon. But right now, RJ, you got me, man. You got me. That's a good looking beard. So, yeah. So I was working in automotive advertising, and you work on your little piece. I would do texturing, lighting, and rendering, and then I would hand that off to a compositor who would then make it look absolutely gorgeous. And then that would get delivered to the client by a representative of the company that never worked on the car. And they would be the ones that were, going to the award ceremonies, working with the client and getting to experience, that feedback. And I live off of that feedback. I feed off of energy, which is why I set up shows in a way that I can feed off of others' energy, because that plays to my strengths and that plays to what it makes me have fun. It makes me enjoy the process. So not having that, it just wore on me. It really ate at me in a big way. And eventually I was just like, you know what? I don't think this is going to work out for me. And that was probably 9 years in. So I stretched it out because, like so many, we have families and we have obligations and bills and insurance to pay out and everything. So you make it work. And you say, you know what, I'm just going to push through. And eventually it gets to the point where you're like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. So I started my business, Micro Machine Media, to where we do repurposed content for entrepreneurs and marketers so that they can focus on working on their business instead of in their business. And the shows have now become the beginning of that content machine. So what got me into publishing is the beginning of COVID. I noticed that all these amazing entrepreneurs were giving away just incredible value packed things for either free or like 98% off. And I knew in my mind, I'm like, people are not using it. They're just squirreling it away for a rainy day that'll never come. And I was like, that's such a shame. All of this amazing knowledge and all this generosity is going to waste, and it's just getting stocked away in a Google Drive. And you're not even going to log in. I see you out there. I know you got stuff stocked away. You've never even logged in. Be honest with yourself. And we're all guilty of it. Shiny object syndrome, right? It's one of the biggest things that entrepreneurs deal with, along with imposter syndrome. Those are the big ones, right?
Absolutely.
And so I was like, man, I I knew I wanted to publish, and I've been kicking around the idea of a podcast called Fail Faster, and just talking about the idea of failure being the basis and foundation of every great success. You learn more from your failures than you ever will from your successes. And I think that people have a stigmatism that goes along with failure that is very unhealthy. So I wanted to do a podcast based around showing the positives of failure. Failure is a really incredible thing. One of my favorite teachers ever, and one of my biggest influences in entrepreneur mindset, told me, if you want to be truly successful, triple your failure rate. And it's always stuck with me, because we are brought up as children to be like, that's wrong, don't do that, don't do that again. Or to think that failure is a bad thing, that we should be successful out the gate, and it's not healthy. So I wanted to go into that, but then I saw this, people giving things away, and I was like, what if they earned it? And that was what started this journey, is what if they earned it? How can they earn it live on Facebook Live? So, oh, what about a game? Then it went to a
Yeah.
game show. Then I went down the YouTube rabbit hole, which we all know, going down the YouTube rabbit hole, that's a deep hole. So I started looking up game shows, classic game shows from TV formats of the past. And I landed on Hollywood Squares. And the episode with Gilbert Gottfried in particular, where he lies every single time. And every single time they think he's telling the truth. And he goes, "You fool." And I thought it was hilarious. And I'm like, if I can put these super turbo polished entrepreneurs in this environment and let people watch live, I think I've got something interesting, compelling. And so that started that journey. Then I had to figure out, okay, well, I'm not a Twitch streamer, so I
Yeah.
have to figure out how to do this now, because I know how to make beautiful imagery. I know how to make cars look real, even though they're not. I know how to make a brand look fantastic, but I don't know how to make a live show. So I had to go in and do a deep dive into all the terminology first, because I didn't know the terminology to search for. So I went searching, and I found Dungeons and Dragons players on YouTube, and they're in a circle. All their little cameras are in a circle, and they're playing Dungeons and Dragons together. And I've never been a tremendously big fan of Dungeons and Dragons, probably because I just didn't understand it. People were always playing at our lunchroom at work, and I just never really gave it the chance that it deserved, I'm sure. But what was compelling is that they were playing live, a board game with cards and everything. And I was like, that's it. If I can figure out how they're doing that, I can apply that to this game show. And so then I started looking into their content, and I discovered the terminology that I needed to search for, because my prior searches were unsuccessful because I didn't know what to look for. You don't know what you don't know. So
Yeah.
now I knew I didn't know. And so now I went and I did a deep dive into that, and I just started testing aggressively. And then I am in a mastermind group for entrepreneurs. And I was like, okay, I've got something duct taped together, barely. Let's all get on and let's do a show. And it broke and failed miserably. But and I was mortified. My heart was in my feet. Like, I was just like sweating and just nervous. The first time I've ever been live online was episode 1 of X's and O's. The very first time.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yep, very first live video ever was the first episode. So I was like, let's put all of our chips in. Let's just go for it. And like I said, it broke and it blew up, and there's so many things that just weren't working. I had to rebuild the show completely from scratch 2 hours before we went live. And because it just Streamlabs OBS at the time wasn't taking in Zoom video particular in at that time, so I had to go to OBS Studio, which is the free version, and use that. So I had to rebuild the show completely 2 hours before we were going live, which is very, very nerve wracking. But the cool thing was, at the end of the show, I start getting lit up with all these messages of people being like, "That was so much fun," and I was like, "Oh, maybe there's something here," because in my mind it was a complete failure, and people
Yeah,
watched me fail live. And in my mind, I'm like, "Oh my God, that was the worst." But they're like, "We had so much fun. That's the most fun I've had since COVID started. Thank you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, let's try it again." So now this time I'm like, I want to get a name on here, a bigger name. I reach out to Marley Jacks out of the dark, just out of nowhere. We hadn't discussed anything prior. I think I had done a strategy call with her once prior. So she knew of me, but she didn't know me. And I was like, "Hey, Marley, what do you think about being on my game show?" And she was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And so I explained it to her, and she was like, "I'm in. Only caveat is I need to bring my friend." She wanted to bring someone that if it all went to crap, that she had someone to make fun of the situation with her. And it happened to be Rachel Peterson. So I'm like,
that's freaking awesome.
awesome, awesome. So now I have two names. So what I do is I could teach you a master class in just leverage. This is where I started learning leverage. Is I said I went around to everyone else and I was like, "Hey, Marley and Rachel are in. You guys want to be on this game show?" And now they're like, "What the crap is this game show? Marley and Rachel are going to be on? Are you serious? Why haven't I heard of this?" So now I fill the show within 4 hours. Before, it took me days. Now, because I was leveraging a name, leveraging my last win, I filled it in 4 hours completely. And there's 12 spots on the show, including myself. It's a lot of people to manage.
Yeah,
And so then I just kept doing that. I was like, because I got a little bit of success with it. So I just balled that up and leveraged it for the next show and the next show and the next show. And we just kept getting bigger and bigger names coming on. And it's just become this beast that lives on its own. And I love it. I really do. I'm so passionate about it. I love talking about it. I could talk about it for hours and hours and hours. But one of the cool things that has come out of it is our contestants, they get up to $10,000 worth of help, assistance. It's like having the Avengers there. There he is. Okay. Think about the power of that, of having these titans of entrepreneurship and marketing descend on your business for a short period of time, and what the power
yeah,
of that could be. It could easily move you to the next level, if not beyond. Eventually you're going to be the person that everyone else is coming to and being like, "How'd you get your start?" And I would be honored if you were like, "Well, it started with me being on X's and O's." Like, that is amazing to me, that that's a possibility, and I thrive, I push for that all the time. And then the experts also have gotten this additional benefit that I didn't see coming at all, and that's the networking. I had one woman that was on the show, fantastic woman, and she made 20 grand in a week just off of relationships she formed with the other experts. I didn't hear about it until 2 weeks later. She was like, "I need to talk to you right now." And I'm like, "Oh no, why am I in trouble? Why are you mad?" And I get her on the phone and she's like, "I just want to let you know, thank you." She's like, "You have to do this show forever." I said, "What's going on?" She goes, "I made 20K in a week from being on your show. I just wanted to say thank you. And you have to do this show forever." I was like, "Oh my God, that's insane. Are you kidding me?" Off of this show I made to entertain myself, now is helping other people in this kind of amazing, impactful way. It's crazy. And now I'm taking the show formats, the proven TV formats that have helped me, and I'm teaching those to others. And I'm making shows for others. We have two shows now. One's called Content Chop Shop, which is based on Rob Dyrdek's Ridiculousness show. And that's where he and a bunch of professional skateboarders and sports people all make fun of videos that are where kids hurt themselves on bikes and skateboards. And essentially, we took all that out, but we kept the format. And we brought in Ron Cool, Corey Carter, the Biz Bros, and myself, and we review videos that sell. So we have the good, the bad, the scroll stopper, and then we do a deep dive in one piece of content called the chop. We talk about why it works, why it maybe doesn't work, and how it could be better. And then we have X's and O's. And then we're in production on 5 new shows for other entrepreneurs that I'm so excited about. And it's just, it all comes back to publishing. Like Steve Larson screams it from the mountaintops, and I feel like someone needs to get that guy a megaphone because it's not loud enough. And without publishing, I'm nowhere. Period. Nowhere. And because of the show, it's formed a family of like amazing entrepreneurs that have become like this tight knit group. That's how I got this thing back here. The Talk to the Beard, that was a gift from the other experts that had one night they like hacked the show, they took over, and they gifted this to me because they were so thankful for the relationships formed out of the show. It was the most bizarre, amazing experience of my life, and it was because of this show. And I have formed relationships with the kings of our industry in a very, very fast way that's not transactional. It's a relationship. We've shared an experience together, which
Yeah.
is so rare online, right? To share a genuine experience with somebody. So now these experts, they don't just come together to say, hey, I've got a special on my deal. Check it out. It's, we know each other. It's like, RJ, remember when this crazy thing happened on the show and da 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 da, whatever it is. Remember this experience we shared? That is the formation of a friendship. It's not transactional from the start. We may work together at some point, but the point is I see you as a friend, which is so cool, right? Like I can message Steve Larson or Marley Jacks or Omar Ladder or Akbar Sheik, and we can just have a conversation. That's so cool. And I never had that before. None of these people knew I existed, that I was even a person on the earth. And now I can just have a conversation with them. And
Yeah.
that's so cool. And that's where all of this has gotten to now. That brings us up to speed with where we are now. And I'm loving every second of this journey, truly.
Yeah, and that's absolutely a pretty crazy journey out there that particularly talked about. And I was reading a book like One Week Author by Dana Derricks, and he was talking about the exact same thing, that humans are like normally programmed for the easy things out there. Then they're not programmed for hardships and these type of things out there. And even when you talk about that publishing side, it is absolutely true. It was somewhat similar that happened to you and for me as well. Like my first live was my very first interview with Alex Elliott. You know,
I
like
love
doing
that.
at starting off the interview stuff and everything out there. For me personally, I didn't thought about, okay, it's going to be something like where people can think about for the interviews, or having some having these type of guests and creating a relation with these people out there. I never personally thought that would be possible, because like you, I was doing the exact same thing. I was imagining like, that would be cool if like Steve Larson get to know about me. That would be cool if Catherine Jones get to know these type of scenarios, which was the exact same thing that you mentioned about. And it happened. It just happened
Hmm.
only because of the publishing side.
Hmm.
And like I truly remember the point where I got to know about the X and O's. I didn't knew about you. The way that I got to know about X and O's was, there was a guy, I was using StreamYard right now, like I'm using it as of now as well. There was a guy who reached out to me that, hey, can we do like something similar like an X and O's in StreamYard? I didn't knew like what the show is. I'm like, yeah, probably. I don't know. Who knows? But like, I'm like, I just don't know. Probably it might be able to done. Then there was that was the time that I got to know about that X and O's and what it is all about, and started to get into the world. Started to get to know about you, and then be the part of the show, which was absolutely crazy experience for me personally as well in terms of connection. And I think that was the I don't know as of now of the stats, but it was the highest viewed episode from the past
Oh yeah, yeah,
episodes
yeah.
out there.
No,
I
you're
don't know
right.
the stats out
Yeah,
there, but
that's still climbing. I think it's around 7,000 views now. That's
yeah, like
crazy. Crazy.
it's absolutely crazy, and it never happened that I woke up like freaking for like probably 7 a.m. at least for like attending a show
Oh,
or
we
like
appreciate it so
stuff.
much too, because it was so much fun having you on. I
But yeah,
appreciate
it,
you
it was
waking up
it
so
was
early.
absolute fun, and like there were so many things that was happening during the show. Like for me being into the journey for like 3 years, I never saw that. Literally, I never saw these type of things happening up. Plus a show organized. I'm gonna talk about deep dive about the show as well. We're gonna talk about it as well. But for me personally, I never saw that sort of experience that you were doing that time. It was absolutely crazy experience out there. And the second thing that I've never saw was managing so many people. Like there is no
Mhm.
show out there which was on, especially in our community, that have like so many people involving in the exact same thing. Not only that, the third thing that you say, I literally like go into it every single time, is the relations, and then leveraging those relations out there in the long term, creating those
Mhm.
relations which are not transactional in the initial start. As you talked about that, and I remember few when Steve Larson have his event like offer launchpad, he was like putting up every single person who's attending the event, and you were also like, "Here's Jim out there." I guess it was Colton or Steve, like probably one of those two guys out there. Here's Jim, the X and O's guy out there, who's also in the part of the show. You are already got familiar in front of them as well, and other people who are like freaking crazy thing.
Yeah, it's such a crazy experience, and I can't recommend it highly enough. Like, I'm convinced that Twitch gamers are having the most fun on the internet. They're having the most fun out of all of us. So if
Yeah,
we can bring any of that to our world, it's a good thing. Because I mean, we're so used to what? You get the message in your messenger of someone like, "Hi," or a winky face or something, and then you're like, "Hi," and then they go, "What do you do?" And then you answer, and then they go, "I'm selling this. Do you want it?" It's like, oh my God, no, no, go away, go do something
I want to
else.
connect with you.
What's that?
I want to connect with you.
Yeah, yeah, that's what we're used to, right? Sales, 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 get the sale, get the sale.
Yeah,
So what's beautiful is that with making the show, I have people coming to me. I want a show. Okay, cool. Let's talk about it. I need an overlay. Can you make me an overlay? Sure, no problem. I need a video sales letter. Absolutely. We did a video sales letter for Akbar, and now Akbar Sheikh gives us referrals for making VSLs for his clients, which is so cool. And that's because he was on the show. And by the way, Akbar Sheikh still to this day has the greatest prize ever given. And I want to tell you, do you know what it is? Have you heard about it?
no,
Oh my God. Akbar Sheikh, so prize for the show, X's Nose. He gave away the gift of sight. He paid for someone to have an eye surgery to reverse blindness. And
whoa,
he put it in the name of the contestant. What?
that is insane. That is
Like no
absolutely insane.
no one's ever gonna touch that. I will be impressed if someone can touch that as a prize, because that prize is insane. When he said it, everyone went like got quiet, like a hush went over the crowd. Like, what did you just say? And he's like, yeah, I want to give the gift of sight to someone that is blind to help them see again. I'm going to put it in the contestant's name. Wow. And that happened on the show. And that's so cool. Like, that's one of the most amazing experiences of my life too. It's just experience after experience of memory after memory. And it's not, because what would it be otherwise? It would be me messaging Akbar, let me give you some value. Maybe I make him a free video or something like that, which I have also done.
Yeah,
And that works. That's good. You always want to give value first. Any kind of transaction, you always want to come to the table with value first. Hey, I wanted to present you with something that can illustrate that if you wanted to use me, I'm capable and I'm trustworthy to do that. If not, then here's a gift. It's a gift. It's a one-way thing. If you choose to come back, awesome. If you don't, that's something I made for you. And that's the way we should think about it. Is it's one way. I'm pushing it your way. If you decide to come back, fantastic. If not, no hard feelings. Value was given, and hopefully a relationship forms out of that. Or you can bring them on a crazy show. And it doesn't even have to be a game show, right? Because we can follow TV formats, even down to reality TV if you have multiple webcams set up around your house. I mean, it's only limited by your imagination. You can do a news show, you can do an Ellen show, it's where you have two people sitting down and a screen behind you. What's Ellen do? She does interviews to where they're looking at each other, which you can set up in a virtual world, no problem. And then you have a screen behind you where you show their upcoming project and her pranks. She pranks people all the time. And so she'll show it behind her. So that's it. Screen behind you, two chairs, well lit. That's your show. She starts out talking by herself. Then she goes and you see the two seats, but one is empty and it's her. And she's speaking before the person comes out. And then they come out, they do the interview, and then she refers to their project. And then she has a section where she talks about her prank or whatever funny thing is going on. And then she ends it with her speaking by herself and then roll credits. That's her format. And we can copy that format online. It's not a big deal. Like it's in it. I think people see X's and O's and they get intimidated, which is not what I want, because they think, oh, if I have to do a show, it goes nuts like what Jim's show does. Like, no, that's the worst case scenario. I'm very blessed in the fact that I started with the worst case scenario. So now everything else is easy. But
Yeah,
I use OBS Studio. You can use StreamYard like you do to great success. And you just incorporate some overlays. Overlays can separate you from 95% of the pack right away. It's a scroll stopper because we become Zoom blind, is what I call it. In your scrolling, when you see a Zoom, we COVID has sped everything up in the virtual world. It's sped it up at a breakneck speed. So what has happened is Zoom has become the new quote card, to where it's just like, oh, I'm just going by. So if you see an overlay and there's a little bit of showmanship to it, a little bit of entertainment to go with that value, you're immediately separating yourself. Okay. Ecamm Live, there's XSplit for the higher end people like Junaid Ahmed. I believe he uses something like an XSplit,
yeah,
but you don't have to go to that level. You can separate yourself right away with just an overlay, animated or static. And that's going to break you up from the rest of the group. And look to television, look to what you're currently interested in consuming, because generally we are our ideal client. If we really look at it, we're our ideal client. What are we consuming right now? So I was consuming a lot of Twitch at the time that I was looking into doing the show. So that's where that came from. Is I was like, I'm looking at these games, these gamers, and people are watching them game, and I love that. So I was like, I want to have a live interactive game, and I want people to watch live and interact with me live. And that's where that came from. And I was like, okay, well, now I got to find some formats that can work. There's formats that have always worked on television and will always work in the world. There's formats that have worked since the days of radio that still work. And so all I do is I take those formats, I make it work for my audience so that it pulls out my ideal audience naturally. And then I spin it in my direction. And then I put it in a place where it's going to appear completely bizarre. Facebook Live. And that's
yeah.
kind of the recipe I've been following. And it's worked to amazing success.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the craziest part that you talked about is it absolutely makes a huge impact when you say you don't do Facebook Live, something like that. You do a show. It
Mm-hmm.
absolutely at that exact same point creates an authority that okay, you have a show. It could be anything out there, but it is a show. Which creates an instant authority out there if you want to attract any person out there. And as you already mentioned on that Akbar Sheikh part, like man, I'm freaking speechless. On that thing, I don't think so.
That's insane.
Probably even near close, they're gonna be anyone out there who's gonna give the price of like that. It's like insane price out there right away.
And like, can you imagine being the next person announcing your prize after Akbar says that? You're like, man, I'm leaving. Like, I
Literally,
can't
I,
compete
I
with
just don't
that.
want to I just don't want to
Right.
name anything for the prize. Whatever I'm giving, like it's like nothing in front of that.
And it is funny when you watch the show that people get competitive. So from
Yeah,
the first announcement of a prize to the end, people get jealous. And it's hilarious because it'll be like, I'm giving away an hour strategy call and a lead magnet. The next person's like, I'm gonna up the ante to be more than that. And it's funny watching them together. But and then they poke fun at each other and everything about, wanting to one up each other, kind of keeping up with the Joneses with their prizes. It cracks me up. But yeah, Akbar, when he dropped that, no one can mess with that.
yeah. And so, what was the episode like? What was the episode number for that thing where Akbar Sheikh was into the show?
It was either 5 or 6, I want to say. Yeah, episode
Okay,
5 or 6. So I mean, even early on is when I had, because on that show I had Alan Dean, Akbar, Omar Ladder, um, Sam King. There was a couple big names on that one, but that was a ridiculous show. It was so funny, and there's them were like interacting together. That's what's so cool is each episode has its own personality too, because we're mixing different personality types together, and they play off each
yeah,
other differently. And the show really, I could take out the game show portion and just have it be a conversation that's subject based, and it would be just as entertaining because the entertainment comes from gathering all of those personalities together. That's the whole entertainment. You don't have to have the game show. That's more of a gimmick really, but the heart of it is those relationships and watching people interact with each other in a natural way, because a lot of these guys, when you see their ads, it's scripted, it's super edited, graded, super polished. It's gone through the guise of split testing, and like by the time you see it, it's gone through all these filters. They come on the show, there's no filters. And so you genuinely see a different aspect of these people. And I think that's truly appealing.
yeah, 100%. And that absolutely makes sense out there into like many of the certain aspects out there. They are raw at the moment. They're not like freaking televised out there like they do for the ads. Having a teleprompter out there
Mm-hmm.
and they're talking about all of the scripts out there. Like absolutely natural. And yeah, so once you started to do the X and O shows out there, which literally became literal blast, especially like some people are like, okay, what is an X and O show? Like I'm curious to know about that. Some people, like many people out there, know about it just because how like from the COVID time, like it's not that much long time. It's like
Yeah.
probably how much like 8 9 months probably since the
Yeah.
COVID goes on the peak side. So if on that 8 to 9 months mark, or even like even more, if we talk about like that was a fast time to get an instant stamp out there to create an impact, in front of the
Yeah.
people out there, in front of the audience where people are familiar about who Jim Beard is, what his XNO's show is all about, which was crazy. So I want to highlight one thing and I want to ask you about that because you're teaching people even how to create their own shows as well. You're working with other
Mm-hmm.
people as well. I guess with Marley as well, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We worked with her on her show, and we're working on some new ideas for that show as well to expand that even further out.
Yeah. So, what do you think is the number one mistake that people make when they're thinking about of creating their own show out there? What do you think about it?
I think people say I'm not a host type person. I think I hear that a lot. I think I hear, oh, it's too complicated for me. Um, Start with an overlay. Just get an overlay and use like a StreamYard or an Ecamm. Just start there. You can get overlays created on any kind of creative sites out there, the Fivers and things like that. You can get a basic overlay started. And even like Streamlabs OBS, if you go onto their sites, they have some that you can download that are like templates. If you have knowledge of After Effects and Photoshop, you can make your own. There's plenty of tutorials out there. They're not geared necessarily towards our world, but you can get it done. The knowledge is out there, just like anything, right? Any of our courses and things like that we put together. If you really dig deep enough, you can find it for free online if you want. You come to us because you like how we teach. and you like how we structure it together, so that way it makes it easy to where you can jump ahead of the line, so to speak. All the knowledge is out there. Like what I did a deep dive. I don't recommend doing it the way I did it because it was very aggressive, and it blew up in my face. So now the things that I'm working on is to make a safe space to where you can have a community around you to support you while you're making your show, get it polished up before you go live with it, and have it peer reviewed to where you get all the bugs and gremlins out of it, to where when you go live into your own pages and business pages that it's already ready to go and you're coming out the gate swinging. um, but as far as complaints about making a show or objections to making a show, I hear I'm too shy, it's too complicated, where do I start? So too shy, my opinion is I'm a pretty shy person. I don't know if you would believe that, but I surround myself with people that bring out the best in me. So X's and O's, I have 11 other people to prop me up if I'm not feeling it that day. Because there's days where I'm like, I'm just really having a tough day and it's show day. But I get on the show and all those amazing energies are coming around me and the conversations start and I'm in it, and it pulls me right in. Content shop, I mess with those guys all the time and we talk crap about each other all the time. And so I knew combining us together was going to naturally bring that out of me. And so you surround yourself with people that bring out of you the personality that you want to put into the world. So you do conversations, so that way it's not all about you. You don't have to make it the RJ show and RJ has to be completely compelling and entertaining from beginning to end. No, you bring on other people that then carry that with you. They carry that burden with you and bring
Yeah,
out that naturally in you. As far as it being too complicated, just start with an overlay. Overlays separate you from the pack right away. So just start there. And as far as it being, what did I say, too complicated, too shy, and I even forget the third one at this point, but um, it does. It's only as complicated as you make it. So start with overlay, and if you're too shy, bring on other people. Just right away, you've separated yourself from the pack. And think entertainment first. So find a format, a TV format that you enjoy, and take it. Just take it. BB King said, if you like the way that someone does something, take it. And I fully believe that. Don't plagiarize, don't claim it as your own, but take on the things that make it special and incorporate that and spin that your way, and then use that for yourself. But there's formats that have been done. They've spent billions of dollars making all these formats that make money, that make people pay attention. They did
yeah,
all the work for us. They just did it on TV. Right now, we're in the period of time to where cassettes went to CDs, CDs went to MP3s, MP3s went to streaming. Like we're in a transition period right now to where all of our entertainment is going to a stream world. So now, if you don't catch up, you're getting left behind again. You're going to be the cassette. And I fully believe that all of our entertainment is coming back to streaming. Cable is a dying art. Cables, you can, and you've seen by their decisions they're making, trying to make the internet a la carte and things like that, is that they're trying to get their meat hooks back into the entertainment world because they want us to follow what they've always done because they don't want to change.
yeah,
And but the thing is the world's changing with or without them. So if you want to get ahead of it, this is the way it's going. And just get an overlay and think entertainment first, follow a TV format that has worked for decades and spin it your way to where it naturally pulls in the audience that you want to speak with and work with.
yeah. And yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And guys, look, the most important thing that I've learned so far is don't be a cassette. Okay, period. Okay, don't be a cassette out there, and everyone will go in and outlast you or outgrow yourself. It's like you're gonna fall behind. And I want to highlight another thing out there that you mentioned. People say, I'm too shy and I don't know what to start or something like that out there. I remember, as you said, as you already mentioned, your first show was, you already started with the worst case scenario. So
Hmm.
nothing worse can happen, apart from that. You always have a show that have some sort of worst case scenario, but you're like, oh, it's normal, it happens. It's fine, it's fine. So what happened with me was, when I started, I was like, now at this time, when I watched the previous interviews that I've done, especially the starting one, and I guess my first official show on this show was with Spencer. Now I
Hmm.
watch the show, I'm like, I've messed it up. Spencer gonna be like, man, just end this interview right away. Just, man, I'm just because
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
saw the transition, that the way I was asking question and the way I was transitioning the show, I'm like, he's gonna be feeling like this is the freaking last time I've interacted with the person out there, or this is gonna be the last time out there I have been on this person's show. Period. That was it. That's what I was thinking about. But for me, that was the worst case scenario out there. So yeah, moral guys, don't be cassette out there. Okay, just
I
make it
got a
work.
couple things for you here that I want to share with your audience, and that is when Marley and Rachel came on, the show fell apart again. And all the way up to episode 15, the show fell apart every single show. But I got faster at fixing it. I made it as part of the show, as part of the banter. I said, "Oh, talk amongst yourselves. Rhode Island is neither a road nor an island. Discuss, stuff like that." And you just goof around and make it fun.
Yeah,
Because if you go dead air, that's when people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna go watch something else." If you make it fun, just try and make it as fun as you can. Make fun of yourself, make fun of the situation, and try and fix it the best you can. If you can't fix it, we've had a couple shows that blew up so bad that we had to just make it a discussion. So what did we do? We dropped out OBS and we came back with just a Zoom discussion with our amazing experts that we had gathered together, and it was beautiful. We even had one show where we did an entire Black Lives Matter movement discussion, and it was wonderful. It was so great to hear, just people speaking about their situation and what was going on. And it's only a bad situation if you cut it off at the point of a mistake.
yeah,
If you can spin it, you can always spin it. And I think that people have a natural inclination towards fear, so they say, if things go wrong, I can't fix it. I'll leave the show broken and we'll just have a discussion. It's fine. Finish it out, finish what you started, because it's still amazing to have that situation of 9 experts gathered together. It's a rare occasion, so there's still value there, even if I can't put x's or o's over their faces. It's fine. The other
yeah,
thing is, Steve talks about it, Russell talks about it. There's so many that talk about it, including Gary Vee. They say your first videos are going to suck. You're going to suck, you're going to be bad. But then your second video is going to suck a little less. And your third video is going to suck even a little less. And eventually you're going to suck so little, you're actually pretty good.
yeah,
And that's what I'm doing, is that I suck a little less every show. And eventually I hope that it's good, that people enjoy it. And it's just the way it should be. But you're finding your voice, and you have to give yourself that permission to find your voice and to get into your groove and to get into a flow that connects with your people and also is something that brings out the best in you. But to do that, you have to give yourself permission to fail. And failure is not a bad thing. It's really not. And what are the biggest fears that people have when they're going live? People are going to judge me. They're going to think I'm an imposter. I'm not going to know what to say. And the technical difficulties are going to derail me. You know what the funny thing about that is? It doesn't ever happen. Really listen to me out there. It never happens. No one's calling you out.
yeah,
No one's saying you're an imposter. No one is doing any of those things that you have built up in your mind that you're afraid of. No one does it. It's made up in our minds, and that's where it lives. That's it. It never happens. I really
yeah,
want to send that home. It never happens. Our biggest fears just don't happen.
absolutely. So yeah, on that particular case that you've literally mentioned, your mind is your only roadblock. When you're thinking about everything out there, and that is, the way that you've discussed everything out there, that most people have the problems, and it's absolutely true because mostly people think about, what other people gonna think about me, and that is the most common one. What if I don't get, look pretty on the camera? I always say I still
Mhm.
don't, but who cares? Like who cares about that
Me
stuff?
too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
like
right there with
literally.
you.
Yeah, and there are other factors that you already mentioned that people like are thinking about these type of stuff so much, and literally no one cares about those things out there apart of you, you know. And it's like your freaking mind. And once you like leave that sort of freaking mind blocking gravity out there, and you're like out of space, and you're like, man, I've done it. It wasn't that
Mhm.
hard. It was just your mind that have made that thing happen, and get these things done out for you. Your mind was only block that you already have, and that was it.
You
And
know, they make fun of me here at the house because when I get done with the show, I'm still floating. You know, you have that, like I call it the show high, and it's because you completed it, you got it out the door, it's done, the video camera's off, and it's just a crazy feeling that you're just kind of floating afterwards, even if it all went crazy. But you're like, your body is just like, oh, this is so cool. It's such an amazing feeling, and it's something that we can all do with a webcam or your phone. Even you can just use your phone with a cord and an app on your phone. You can use your phone as your camera, a virtual
yeah,
camera, and there's tons of content out there about how to do that, and a computer. And in some cases, you can just do it all on your phone, which is crazy. You could have a show with just this that we all have. This, you don't have to go to the nth degree. Start here, start simple, and set yourself up for success by having an overlay that separates you from the group. Set yourself up for success with having a format to follow, takes pressure off of you because, like X's and O's and Content Chop Shop, you give me a timestamp, I can probably tell you what's happening in the show at that time because we follow a format every time. So there's never like a dead air period because I know, okay, well, this is the time of the show. So this is what we're talking about. This is what's happening, and so on. And then I surround myself with people that bring out the best in me. That's it.
yeah, yeah. And it's absolutely awesome because the way that you talked about the structure and the nitty gritty things that people need in order to make these things work out, like being like especially being in this particular space, you have to have your own voice. That's the very first thing. Russell and Steve and other entrepreneurs talks about that. You need to have your own voice, and you need to be on the camera just to make sure that the followers follows you rather than anyone else. You need to have an impact out there, and it only happens when you show your face. Like it
Yeah.
never happens like someone out there out of the blue, like wearing like literally black ghost dressed out there, and like they're not showing their freaking face out there, and they're like, we like be our customers or like create relation with us. Like it never makes sense. Your originality is the main thing out there. So yeah,
I
100%.
think it's easy to forget in our click funnels, groove funnels, drop funnels, whatever you're into world, that we don't go on social media to be sold.
Yeah,
We go on to be entertained, to find answers. So if we keep that in mind, edutainment is where it's at. You want to entertain, educate, give value. I think we forget that entertainment part far too often. That's what's so cool about podcasts is you bring on two personalities that get to find commonalities, and that's compelling. That's interesting content, and that's entertaining. You make a show with some X's and O's put over someone's face. It's entertaining. The content we're talking about is educational, a value add. And then we get into the goofy stuff too because we want to keep it lighthearted. But essentially it's always with edutainment in mind. And so people are like, "Oh, I can't be the entertaining guy." It's like, "Okay, well then bring on others that naturally bring that out of the situation." I guarantee there's someone in your life out there that brings that out of you. Who is it? Is it Bob? Bob, your buddy Bob? Okay, get on a show with your buddy Bob and make the show about something that naturally brings in the clients that you want to talk to. What do they care about? Okay, so Bob, you're a plumber. Okay, you and your friend Bob are plumbers. Okay, so you're going to get together and you're going to talk about crazy things that have happened in your plumbing world. Um, make it into a show to where you talk about plumbing disasters. Okay, even down to a plumber, you can have a show. Talk about the
Yeah,
crazy situations you've been in, because I guarantee, as a plumber, you've had a lot of weird stories. Cable installer, you can even have your own show. I have a buddy of mine who was a cable installer, and he has crazy stories about going into people's homes. You could have a whole show just about two, three guys that talk about, or ladies together, obviously, that talk about their crazy situations that they've encountered being cable installers. It doesn't have to be anything super crazy. You just tell stories. Stories cause connection. Seeing someone's face causes a connection. And we go to social media for connection. That's it. So if we're coming at it as a transaction, we're forgetting that connection. So we need to lead with that connection. And if it leads to a transaction, fantastic. And if it doesn't, we don't have to expect it to come back. It's a one-way street. If it comes back, fantastic.
yeah,
Connection first.
absolutely, 100%. Like mind blown, like literally out there, like they're like, as you mentioned, all of these things out there, these like very awesome aspects, and people who are like watching or listening out there, they're gonna be like, oh my god, there are some things that are absolutely fact and they can absolutely relate on that particular point. That's me, and yeah, there's a solution for it as well, which is absolutely craziest part. So okay, uh, where can people find about you, about your show out there? Like, where can people find about you guys?
Absolutely. So you can reach out to me, Jim Beard, on Facebook. Obviously, I'm very
There's no mid between
responsive.
it,
What's
guys.
that?
There's no mid between the Jim Beard. It's Jim
Jim
Beard.
Mid Beard, but my actual last name is Beard.
Yeah,
I shaved it for October. I'm working on it. Okay, give me some leeway. And so you can reach out to me there. I'm very active on there. And then also we have a new group forming that I'm very excited about called Omnipresent Army. And the Omnipresent Army is to where we teach you about making shows, making content, simplifying the process, and just trying to take away as much friction and roadblocks as possible. So that way, your content machine, if you have a show, when you are done and you hit done on your live, then you're done. And then you can give that to your team if you have a team, or your VAs, and they can repurpose that content to get the word out and get eyeballs on that content. And that's so that becomes a full content machine that hopefully is not taking up a ton of your time. And so we talk about all those topics in Omnipresent Army. And we have a holiday deal coming up that I'm really excited about. It's $49 for our year of content blueprint plan. You literally plan out an entire year of content. So those subject matters to talk about on your show, or if it's just you training, I recommend making a show though, because like I said, it brings that entertainment aspect into the value give.
yeah,
It helps you with the getting those eyeballs on it because it's more engaging, being entertaining. So we're going to talk about all those topics, and part of the 49 is to get into the group. And for the next couple of weeks, though, it's free to join the group. And we're going to be putting out that holiday deal this week, actually. So I'll put that out there and I'll let all you guys know about it. But yeah, we're helping people make shows and helping people simplify their content process. So Omnipresent Army, or you can reach out to me. And then obviously X&O Game Show and Content Chop Shop are our shows. We love people that engage with us on the show, ask your questions. And if you want to be on the show, let me know. Message me on X's and O's or on my personal profile, and we'll get you on there either as a contestant or an expert.
awesome, awesome, and yeah, like guys, like I'm gonna put all of the resources out there in the show notes in the comment section down below, so you can check out every freaking thing out there, so that you don't miss out the world of Jim Beard. Okay, and you're gonna have a lot of fun, lot of value, lot of learning, and like a lot of good experience out there. And like, any last thing that you want to say before we round this thing up?
Publish, 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 publish. Like megaphone, publish. Anything. Fail fast. That's it.
Yeah.
Get yourself an
Publish.
overlay, get StreamYard or Ecamm and publish. Get out there and find a format that talks to your people and just start doing it. Because the sooner you start doing it, the sooner you can get good at it and find your voice.
Yeah. 100%. Publish. Okay. So yeah. And again, Jim, thank you so much for being on the show. It was like truly awesome to have you, truly insightful. And again, man, thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolute privilege to be on the show. Thank you so much for having me.
Truly appreciate it. And yeah, guys, this is it for now. See you guys in the next one. Until